No, it's you have a revolving door, and that's what you see with a lot of them. Within a year,
or less,
they're closing down,
or
less,
yeah.
6 months.
Most of
They're
80%, 60% of the schools close within a year. That's terrible. Which
it is.
Which leads me over to, let's talk about. I watched this course. I should send you a link on it. It's free, but it's a 2-hour course from Artemis Defense Institute. And it's about why our children kill children. Why do we have these school shooters? And they went into the profile of these shooters. And I think I interviewed you too about, why you got started in martial arts. Well, almost 95% got started because of a bully. Every one of those shooters were bullied. Every one of them.
Yes.
Many of them come from a no-father household. And I remember this woman came into school one time and said, signed her son up and said, hey, I want you to make him into a man. And I said, hey, that's not my job. It's the dad's job. Well, the dad is not in the picture. So I said, okay, I sign up. I'll do it. And I did. He became a stellar. He was going down the wrong road big time, but he went into the Army camp, became an airborne medic, went to Iraq, got medals for what he's done, come back, started at the very bottom of a very big company, and now he's in the middle management. He's a success story. And I'm sure you have them too. And the opportunity, oh, by the way, when the girls get bullied, they commit suicide. The boys decide to shoot up schools to get even with people. Yeah. Okay, that's part of the profile. Well, sure seems like an opportunity to me. We ought to try to focus on how do we get to those kids. Martial arts students or teachers ought to focus on how to get those kids in the school, give them some self-worth, give them a male role model, adopt them, right? And we change the world one kid at a time. It's an opportunity. It's disgusting to look at it in some way as an opportunity, but hey, better that than have them shoot up the school.
Yeah. Yep. Here's the difference in what, when I listen to you, and this is what I love about it is and how you present it and what you believe, because I know your heart on what you're saying is true. You've done it. I've done it. The difference between what you're doing is loving those people, caring about those people, truly seeing that there's a need in their life and taking them and changing their lives, and not looking at them as a dollar of some sort coming in, is that you first look at them as a need, and you want to change their lives and add value to their lives. And in the case of the young man that you noted there, and look at what he's accomplished. Look at what's been accomplished, because it's unreal.
He's counseling other kids,
on
how to be the best they can be. And he was going to be a little hoodlum. That's where he was headed, you know?
Yep.
And I have a whole school full of success stories like that. There was one kid that came in. Oh my God, this kid was tough. Had to be the center of attention, would screw up everything. And so I literally put him in an arm bar and I drug him around the mat with me the whole class. I mean, his face was planted. I drag him along with me. Now, you probably can't do that today, although I did. Okay, you want to be the center of attention? I got a place for you, and down they go. And then I started to force him to look at what I was teaching these kids. And I said, okay, I'm going to let you up and you got to teach this kid just that. You think you can do that? I think you can do that. Now get over there and teach that kid. And I made him my little teacher. Oh my God, he got all the love, all the attention, but he changed. And I saw him probably 6 years after I closed the dojo. I ran into him and his dad at Home Depot, and he ran out and hugged me. And he says, you have changed my entire life. I was a straight A student in high school because of you. I'm a straight A student in college now. And they were going to drug him up with a Ritalin and everything else. And I said, no. Give me a chance. Give me a chance with this kid, And I have to tell you, for half a year, it was pretty tough on him because I'd slam him right in the mat. Excuse me, drag him around. Have to edit that out. And but his parents just loved the hell out of me, and they are all that way. And you know, we're confident enough that these little guys, they get in there and they think they know more. They're big tough guys, and you just take them out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, okay, I'm the bigger dog on the mat here. Okay, let's just get that done with. No more of that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I want to teach you to teach. I want you to, and it works. It works. They get respect. By the way, that's part of the system has failed them, is why they become shooters at Artemis Defense Institute. One of the, I should probably go grab the other. Oh no, I've got it right here. I got my notes right here. They said,
Peter Sensei, they know that they've known, the FBI has known this for years, that with their profiles on these shootings, and the anger problems and issues and the bullying that goes on and the issues that go on in the homes and why they come back. The schools have known it. Schools have long records of all of this, of these histories of these kids being bullied. Nothing has been done to stop it from the schools aspect of it.
Right.
But what they do is that they push it off into then the law enforcement community has to deal with it, and they become the disciplinary aspects of these kids, and some of these kids end up dying because you have to be the ultimate disciplinary aspect of it, because they got a gun pointed at you and you have to kill a kid that's 12 years old. That's the problem. And they failed, and they have failed the child in this system, in our world. They have failed them.
The one thing they talk about is a lack of empathy. These people have no empathy. They have no feelings for what they do. They don't care. All the shooters are male, by the way. All white too, by the way. They get pablum fed to them constantly. Nothing of any substance. The system is corrupt and doesn't apply to them. That's what they feel, which is exactly what you're talking about. The system has failed them, and then they're all bullied. They get no respect from anybody. No. Every active killer has played violent video games. Now they kind of play that one down. This panel that they had was really interesting. I've got to get you to watch this. I'm sure you're just going to love the heck out of what you learned there. And they had a school resource person there, a psychologist, and she comes on to just what you said too. And they have no fathers in their home, no male role people at all. And it just seems to me, I don't know, this is a thought, I want to try to inspire our martial arts instructors. Back when I'm with you on May 19th, I want to get them inspired to find these kids in society and drag their rear ends in that school, teach them, give them that respect. They're going to earn the respect because they're going to have to teach. And a lot of systems don't like anybody but the sensei teaching. I think that's a big mistake for two reasons. One, people don't have a real good accomplishment feeling, and they're not giving back to the community, right, that needs to learn from them. They gain respect because they're able to do the technique well enough to teach somebody. And oh, by the way, they don't. One of the other rules on the mat: no one likes to feel stupid. Really important, mat. Okay, violated all the time. Jeez, I see this violated all the time. But they have to learn that technique so well. They don't want to be embarrassed trying to teach that technique. And if you can fold that into your teaching technology, oh my gosh, you build some retention, loyalty, change kids' lives forever if you pick up some of these traits of how to deal with these kids. And every kid in your match.
And these kids have also, most of these kids, Peter Sensei, have very high IQs.
Oh, of course they do. They're very smart. That's the problem.
Very smart.
That's part of the problem. I had all these kids on Ritalin. I remember one Saturday after a long week of Ritalin kids, I had 150 kids in this school. And I'm laying there on the mat, stretching my back, and I had a waiting room that you overlooked the mat. but I had a wall. So I laying down, I couldn't see that there was anybody in there. And I said, why, Lord? Why me? Why can't I have just some normal freaking students, Lord? Just give me some normal ones. Why does everybody have to be on ADD or ADHD? What is up with that? And out of the air, one of my best students' fathers, Ben, he was out there, and his voice came out like a booming voice. He sends them to you because no one else will take care of them like you can.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, okay, I've been stupid there, wasn't I? And, you know, I thought it was, I was looking at it as a punishment versus looking at it as God sent them there for me to help. And almost to a person, I got them off of Ritalin. I explained to their parents they're like high-speed computers, and you're back with an abacus thing in these classrooms. They got to be fed at the rate that they want that. I even started teaching, well, of course, being an engineer, you know, some of my kids would get in trouble with school, right? So the parents would drag them in to talk to me. And the first thing I tell them, I said, okay, what's the most favorite thing you have in your room that you really love? And this one kid said his guitar. I said, good. Now go home and bring that guitar back to me. What? Yeah, I'm taking it. I'm taking it. You don't get it anymore until you change your grades. Number two, Saturday at 3 o'clock, you're going to be at my house. And we're going to go. It was math, so it's right down my alley. So he got to the house. He complained to his mother. I said, bring me his guitar. He gets it back when he gets his grades up. Otherwise, he's doing his guitar, and he should be doing his homework. So, and every day he'd show up, and every day I'd want to see his homework. Every day, you know, I'd punish him in many cases. Okay, we're going to, hey, everybody, he's not doing his homework. Let's do it with him. I go over to my mirrors all around, and I get out my dry eraser, and we're going to do his homework with him. And, oh my God, the peer pressure of that was immense. But he shows up. He's a half Lebanese kid, or he's a Lebanese kid. He's like a ninth dan now with us, but incredible guy. Dad's a plastic surgeon. Mom's a ballet dancer. Just, I mean, great role models right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he shows up at my house, and he brings his book, and I sit him across the table, and so I said, oh, I forgot something. Okay, so I get up and I get a can of sardines. I open that up. I get a can of smoked oysters. I get some crackers. I get some jalapenos. And he goes, what's all that for? I said, well, I like this stuff myself. He goes, it smells really bad. I said, you better hope that every answer you get's correct, because we're going to have lunch together. Really?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now do I have your attention? You know, first I got to get your attention before we can go do something. Yeah. It became, oh my gosh, it was so funny because and these were young adults too. You know, I got them laughing and interested, and oh my God, only I could get away with that. Yeah. But so there's so many things that the other thing I always talk about, I wrote this out, and I haven't done it yet, but all these martial arts senseis, they think that their students really care for them. They don't, and they shouldn't. It's not about you. It's all about them. That's the way you got to think. It's all about your students. It isn't about me or you. Who cares? They're there for us to feed them, and that's the way it should be. But you see that doesn't happen very often, that the senseis understand their number one job is to teach them to beat you up, not the other way around. So a lot of, I think I've echoed that in some of these classes that I put up.
Absolutely. All the way through in all of these courses that you have put out there in this program, Legendary Sensei. I mean, it's all hooked into trying to bring back what has that's really been lost in so many ways in the martial arts, because we have commercialized so much. We have self-centered. Many who are teaching the arts are self-centered, and everything's upon themselves and how I look. You know, I have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I got to act and jump around like Bruce Lee. And I had somebody one time ask me, just talking about a preacher. He said, well, you don't look like a preacher. I said, what does a preacher look like? You know, it's the same with the martial artists. And I says, you know, we have this stereotypical type of image that we're trying to portray in 2019 that is not healthy for the arts, and it's not healthy for the student that you bring in. We talk about, and you talk about in the program, yes, you're talking about a business concept, but you're talking about that as a business concept that is centered on the people. In the people. So it's the reality is, yes, you have to have money to keep these doors open so you can work with the people, but it isn't about that. As you teach, and I mentioned it in those lessons, it's not about, hey, I want to take that Hawaiian vacation. I don't want to take, you got that Hawaiian vacation coming up here. I need to run a test, and I got 100 students. So, and I got about 8 of them close to black belt this time. We're going to run them in a black belt. So that's about a $500 test alone, just the test itself,
right.
For a black belt. And then, but if I present, I'll get a $59.99 samurai sword, but that's part of the black belt completion. You present them with the samurai sword for $59.90. That was $59.99, but you've tacked on another $300. So now we're up to $800 for this black belt test. Well, you get a number of those plus all these other two. You can go on a nice vacation.
Yeah, and that was explained to me. The guy that actually did this kind of marketing doesn't live far from you, by the way.
I believe me, Peter Sensei. I see it. It turns my stomach. It's a commercialized type of process, and it's frightening.
It's selfish.
Oh, it's very selfish. I get very angry because I've had students come in. And they're young students, 18, 19 years old, and they're claiming to be third-degree black belts. And I asked them to do basic front kicks or a basic side kick. They can't perform it. They cannot perform it. But they've been in martial arts for 9 and 10 years. They can't perform basic things. But they've been giving money over through contracts for a decade. Their parents have been paying for all of this. And yet they think that they're going to protect themselves, and it's criminal. It's criminal, and they have no concept of reality when it comes to those kind of things. And their attitudes are terrible because it reflected the teacher that they came from.
Absolutely.
So these are the things that are necessary and what you're trying to portray within and teach teachers and senseis to be that legendary sensei. And I think it was wonderful when you said here when I was going through, and I believe it was in one of the core lessons, I've been going through a lot of material, even your DVDs. I mean, I'm playing those all the time, watching some of the stuff and refining some of the things that even within my own system based on what you've taught me. Is to see the aspect of the concern for the person coming in is phenomenal. And anyway, and I guess I've lost my train of thought here. What I was trying to say here on
we are getting older.
We're getting older. Yes, my senior moments are greater. Believe me.
I just had one on the show. I forgot what I was going to say. Oops.
Yeah. But it is. It's what you're trying to bring into teaching what legendary senseis are, and what that means. Oh, I know what it was. Thank God I have recall. The legendary aspect of this, which was perfect, I thought, about what makes the legendary sensei. You injure someone, and this is the first time I've ever heard anybody say this. You said it. You injure someone, you're responsible for it.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you better take care of those. They're out of work. You better take care of some things. You're responsible to get them back and forth on how to do things. You're responsible for their care and upkeep. And if they're losing money out of a job because you injured them, you're responsible for this. That's unheard of. That concept is unheard of. But that's what makes somebody legendary. This is what somebody who's responsible for what has happened. Plus, not only that, if you've done it, but even to be part of that type of person, that sensei that goes and you didn't even have anything to do with that injury, but guess what? You go and visit them. You go do things to see if your help can be helpful to the family. You are legendary in that respect, and it's not done today. It's just not done.
You know, another piece that I forgot to even write this down, and I'm going to write it down now, but Veterans Day.
Or you're going to forget it like I do.
Veterans Day. No, I'm going to write it down right now. Candy. Okay, so what we did for Veterans Day is I had my lead black belts organize the kids coming on a Saturday, and we all made up these little bags of candy corn and Hershey's Kisses, really nice, and camo bags, and we went down to the rest home, the nursing homes in the area, and we walked in and asked. They didn't even know who we were. We walked in uniform, gi, everything. And we asked, "Do you have any veterans here?" "Yes, we do." "Can we meet them?" And it's the little guy, the little kids go up there and they give him candy and they talk with him. They thank him for their freedom. Oh my gosh. And we do that every year. I have a laundry list of people that I call, and I send out my list to all my people. You've got to call. One is my cousin. He's 85 now. World War II. A lot of great stories. But I call him. And I call him 2 times a year. We do it on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, both. And he says, he looks forward to my call to thank him for my freedom. Oh my gosh. You know, now imagine even in your own system. Let's try to institute getting the kids to make the little packages up and get excited and hustle them into. I mean, you're in a retirement community. Almost all of Florida is either retirement or drugs, one or the other, I guess. I don't know. Sounds good. Sounds like a story there. But, you know, I think bringing that honor is a legend. We're teaching them how to be legends.
Yes.
I'm so excited about this whole thing. And, you know, we talked about this late last year or early last year. You know, I said, hey, we got to do something about this. We have to, and I didn't even have the name yet, but I said, we have to teach people how to be legendary, you know, and what would that mean? And what does it mean? And, oh my gosh, you know, I think we're on a good start now. Yeah, I can't wait for you to get this. I have, I guess, a little over 100 videos up right now on the membership side, but I have 172 in the wings. So you ain't gonna get through them all. Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
There's a lot. Your way. There's a lot. I'm sure you have a tremendous amount of material and what you're teaching and some of the stuff that you just, and I'm sure you will expand on. And you and I have covered a lot. And for those who are listening, we'll listen to this podcast here of teaching and tracking and listening and this whole concept of energy and listening to plants, listening to these things, and these things seem so esoteric. You know, they see it, but I before you taught it, and I read the Mental Warrior and the book that you had, and I've read it many times and gone through that and shared it with many people, and tell them, I says, you need to pay attention to this because my belief is, and you touch on it, you touch in a little bit deeper than what you have before in the core training here, the aspects of what that is, and it's kind of like how I would say you know and you're knower. You sometimes it's very hard to explain, but when they catch it, you'll know and you're knower, and it's you know it's so real that you absolutely know what is where these people are and what's taking place and where and the track and what's even being said.
Well, you were really famous for that when you were in the police department.
Yes, I would go and we would do in a building before. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was spooky to people because I would say nobody's going in here until I kind of figure out where they are and what's going on. And I can tell you if they're armed. I can tell you if they're not armed. I can tell you whereabouts in the building they are. And I can even tell you sometimes what they're feeling and how they will respond to you when you do find them and where they're at. So, I'm going to tell you, I was 100% on. People don't believe that, Peter Sensei, but I was 100% on, and it would scare people, but it was fact. It was fact. If you tap into this, you can even tap into that. And this is the same concept that I use with people on the street, people that I would be talking to or arresting to calm them down. I would start to tell them things about themselves that that they only knew, but I knew too.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a lot of first Italian stuff in there too.
Yes.
The quick story, I took one of my guys as a border patrol guy, and he came up and I've always said that when I was in Cambodia, we learned to feel the trees and around us, and
yes,
they speak to you if you will be willing to listen. People go, okay, he's whacked, but it's absolutely true. Particularly if most humans go through a jungle area, they don't have any respect for the plants. They tromp on them. They do all this stuff. And it pisses off all the little plant community and the tree community that they got somebody doing that. But if you could tap into that, you know which way they went.
Yes.
And also animals will tell you which way they went. So I make these statements, oh God, here he goes. He's drunk. I don't do drugs. So I guess I could say I'm hallucinating or something, but I didn't. So one of the Border Patrol guys came up and he said, "Can you teach me that?" I said, "No problem." So I grabbed a lawn chair and I put him out by this bush on the side of the lawn by the house. And I said, "Here's what I want you to do. You're sitting there and you're going to clear your mind of all thought," which is the hardest thing to do. But once you get that done, you get to see a picture. Your brain goes crazy because it has to have stimulation. But the first thing you've got to learn how to do is to quiet your mind down so you don't have any of that noise going on. And I said, that plant will tell you something. I want you to tell me what the plant says. And I went back to work in my gazebo in the back, and an hour later he comes, he says, "I think they're mad." I said, "You're absolutely correct, but why?" "I don't know." "We'll go back and ask them. Get back in that state and ask the plant, what's up? Why is it upset?" And he comes back, he says, "The rabbits are eating on them." I said, "Oh, precisely. Okay, now you got it. Okay, now you can get in tune." So about 2 weeks later, he calls me from the field down here on the border. He goes, Sensei, you will not believe what I just did." I said, "Oh, I can't wait to hear this one." So he says, here we were on this big ass mountain in the middle of the night, and they're tracking a team of illegals in front of them. And, those guys the Border Patrol people are pretty crazy good about tracking. I've taken classes from them about tracking. And, but he kept saying, I don't think they're up in front of us. I think they're down in this valley. And he was new. And of course, the sergeant or lieutenant or whoever was out there, his boss, said, no, they're up ahead of us. No, he says, I'm telling you, I don't think so. I think they're down there. And he says, "Can I have permission to go down there and see?" "Well, sure. Waste your time. Go ahead, youngie. Waste your time." So down this thing he goes. He gets in this riverbed. And the first thing he runs into is a rattlesnake. So he backs off this rattlesnake and he sits down and he's asking the rattlesnake where they are. Now I got him talk to animals now. And the rattlesnake said, "They're in front of you. They're very bad people. They hurt us." Okay, so he goes around this rattlesnake, he's climbing through this bush. He gets up on a plant and he sits and he talks to the plant. And the plant says, They're in front of you, very close. They're in front of you. So he gets up, and this riverbed had nothing, no telltale anything to track from. I mean, he's just going by talking to the plants in the flora and fauna, and he eases his way through this overgrown thing in the creek bed, and he comes up, and all of a sudden he feels really funny, and he stops, and he looks to his left. 22 people hiding right there. Bagged 22 of them. Hooked them up, marched them up the hill, called ahead to his captain, and he goes, "How did you do that?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know. I just got lucky." Because he doesn't want to sound like a wacko, but that's what he did all the time. He would go on board buses and walk right to the person. Yank him out of there. And he got legendary for just knowing things you should never know. And it was all that class with the rabbits eating the bushes that he learned.
And
about.
you got some good story. You got some good story about the rabbits in the course. And I'll let the people who end up taking these courses listen to those things, because it's great stuff. I mean, and people don't think about that. And they think you're crazy. There's no doubt about it. I personally believe that this is something God's put in each one of us. We just have never been taught to connect with that within our capabilities of doing that. And that's a protective device to be able to teach people to protect themselves, to feel. People always say, well, the sixth sense, Well, that sixth sense, what you're feeling, we all have it, that you're feeling that energy. You're feeling those things that are not right about a person, a thing. When you get those feelings, I tell people never, ever discard those feelings.
Absolutely.
Ever. It heightens your potential of keeping yourself alive or somebody else.
Right. And you meet people and this is not a good person. I mean, you don't know why you know that, but you absolutely know that something isn't according to Hoyle with this person. And
absolutely.
The more you can get into somebody's head, I've even taught people to talk to people in their heads. You put on ideas and they think they thought of it, which is great,
It's great for sparring.
Absolutely. And I have had those too. When I realized they're in my head, they're seeing my pictures in my head. Oh, shoot. We were standing out yesterday morning. Some walkers came by and we saw, probably, how far is that? Say 100 yards, maybe 150 yards up to another house. And this person stops his truck and gets out and comes back and gets back in the truck. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." They said, "What?" I said, "Well, she's left-handed for one thing." "Well, how would you know that?" "Well, there's an easy way of knowing it." And I said, "There's two things that she did that told me she was left-handed." "Why is that important?" "Well, that's the side they're going to draw a weapon on you." Okay, typically their favorite hand. She stepped up on the curve with her left foot dominant. Okay, she also parted her hair on the right side because her better hand, favored hand. So people with parts on the right are usually left-handed people. And I go, "Wow, that's crazy." I said, "Well, yeah, you can just see it from that distance." Of course, that was a visual thing. But it's these kinds of things that you learn esoterically that you talked about. And by the way, the Mental Warrior will be a giveaway up on the site too. It's going to be one of the bonus things, so they can download that. I mean, shoot, talk about ripping me off. I got so much stuff up there. I usually sell for so much that I'm giving it away basically for the price. But that's okay because I'm trying to create this community for us. You're going to be prominent up there too. I will have a First Earth Battalion section up there too. For those who want to see or try to understand. And Colonel Channon in 71, 72, somewhere right in there, he would put a person on point. He was a 101st Airborne Commander with 2 tours in Vietnam, out in the bush. And where the First Earth Battalion came from was in that bush. And he said he could put a guy on the point, and all of a sudden that person stops. And he goes up to him, what do you see? He said, "I don't see anything, but I know that there's a person over here 125 yards right there." "How do you know that?" "I don't know how I know it, but there's the person that's going to shoot us." And sure enough, he was right all the time. And then he put people out in the front And the point, they got them all shot up. And he goes, hey, wait a second. What's going on here? Boy, if I could isolate how those guys on the point know this stuff and I could teach it, oh, shoot, that's a great thing. That started the whole 1st Earth Battalion. And we're talking about this right now, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I've got his book and I've had it. That's some pretty deep stuff within his manual that he has out there. It's very impressive.
Well, he's dead now. He died last year.
Yes.
So was it last year, year before? No, it's been dead a year. September 10th, a year ago. September 10th, he died of a heart attack. So
no, it's all good material. What we're talking about, and those are the things that people who sign up for this site are going to gain this kind of material, and it's priceless. It's priceless, and how important it is to teach those kind of skills to your students. Though I mean, put that in that Legendary Sensei training program, having that material available to you as a sensei, whether you want to believe it or not. And believe me, I know from experience from a lot of years that it's as real as Peter Sensei and I are talking, is that will save lives. To be aware. When we talk awareness, we implement, unfortunately, we have a lot of, and not to say that they're totally useless, but the concept of awareness and what they're teaching, it doesn't even come close to what you and I are talking about.
No, they're technicians.
Doesn't even come close.
They're technicians. And they're very good technicians, no question.
Yes.
They are not senseis, and they're not legendary senseis. And by the way, I'm going to task you with something.
Okay.
You're really good with certificates.
Yes.
We need to develop a Legendary Senseihood certificate when we feel that they've achieved a certain level. Maybe we break it into level 1, 2, or 3. I don't know. But they go through our stuff. I think they're going to come out being a completely different teacher, to the positive, not to the negative, and they will be legends. And people will. You become a legendary sensei, people will flock to you. I mean, you have to beat them. You have to beat them away with a stick, you know. And talk about retention. You take the leap into a legendary sensei, and everybody's going to talk about you. Everybody's going to want to study from you, not because you could beat them up on the mat, which you should never do. You know, at least not for ego purposes, you know, and I talk about people all the time, you know, when you fight in a white belt, fight about their level, you know, you fight a blue belt, you fight about their level. I mean, it's clear you can take them out, but that's not the point, you know, and I'll stop and say, okay, look, I'm open here. Kick me. Come on. Kick me. Now kick you. Okay, good. All right, let's keep going now, you know, but most people don't do that. But what better way to teach people? You know, we even go to quarter speed sparring. We usually do about half speed sparring, sometimes 3/4 and full. You know, so you teach them, if you're doing a quarter speed sparring, which is really tough to hold your speed to, but the quality of the artist will hold that. I start to punch about that fast. And you come up with a block, and you're going to counter that block about that fast. We go back and forth and back and forth. And what are we doing? Well, we're getting their eye to see the weight shift to a kick or a punch. You got to have a weight shift. That's the first thing that happens in an attack. I got to cross that line between the near field and the far field. I got to cross that line somehow. Not only are you going to start with a weight shift. So you obviously have a kinetic energy mass coming at you. So your eye can recognize that if you teach them that, oh, they saw my shoulder go. Oh, I'm under attack. And the 4 ways, I don't know if I went through this, I haven't gone through it on the site yet, but the 4 ways to get hit. Have I talked to you about the 4 rules of how you get hit?
Yeah, you had,
Okay.
Yeah, you had on there.
For the sake of
go ahead.
Right, for the sake of this one, well, you're going to get hit if you don't know you're under attack. All right, so the first thing you got to learn is you're under attack, and that's usually with a weight shift. Okay, so this quarter speed sparring starts to help you set up in your mind that there's a weight shift. You see it. It's not fast. It's slow. Okay, pretty cool. All right, so, okay, now you know you're under attack. The second thing you got to know is it a foot? What weapon is coming at you? Is it a foot or a hand? Or stick? What? okay? And if you can't determine that, you're going to get hit. No doubt about it. Okay, so now we know there's a weight shift. Now we know we have to determine the weapon. Okay, so let's say we know it's a hand, all right? Well, if I don't know the intended target, I'm going to get hit. There's a really cool way. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you know what ridge hands are, right? Well, going along with Bruce Lee's concept of half-beat timing, so you punch, I punch, same time, I block, you get hit. So you start a ridge hand, and about here, you bring your elbow in and chop right underneath their ribs. Bang, broken ribs, okay? So, all right, you got to know the target. That's the third thing. Got to know where it's going. Okay, if you don't know that, you're going to get hit. And the fourth one is, okay, so you know you got a weight shift. We know we're under attack. We know it's a hand. We know it's going to our heart. Well, now you have to pull yourself and figure out, oh, I can make this block. I got to do this. And if I don't, you get hit. So if you can mask any of those over, or if you get in their head so they take a stance that really they think they got to take before you even launch, now you got them all screwed up before you even throw a punch. So these things are invaluable to know. And I don't know anybody that teaches this stuff. Nobody.
Well, it's coming from a whole different mindset of today's idea of martial arts and what those are. Again, we're coming from a different mindset of combat protection and those type of things, rather than a lot of the commercial type of stuff, and you're going to tournament fights and those kind of things. And so yeah, it's all new. It's going to be new to a lot of people when you start to talk these type of concepts and thinking it's all crazy. You know, with the mindset, it's the same thing with the battle starts already. How I teach there, the battle already starts is in the mind.
Right, it's always in the mind.
It's always in the mind.
That's and ends in your mind. The rest is just mechanics.
So you know, that whole mindset and concept that they're not grasping. But the whole idea too, and the thing in what we've talked about in communication and all of those kind of things are missing, and should be part of that whole Legendary Sensei package and what you're doing and how you teach people and how to communicate. You know, you become, again, I did a radio program this morning for somebody on Facebook, and I said, you know, I said, I used to teach that I'm going to make you a master before you're a master. And it says, they're not grasping that. I says, if you cannot diffuse or attempt to diffuse the situation, I said, I know words fail. I'm not an idiot. See, I've been at this a long time with people on the street. I says, but words, 90% of what I had in serious confrontations were diffused by me being able to communicate with them, understand them, because the battle was here first. And then from here, I went from here and dealing with them and telling them things and using humor and deflecting and using those kind of things, making them look like me, like I'm kind of crazy. And they're wondering if he ain't crazy, he's got crazy. And if I really get him doing something, I'm in serious trouble. You know, and humor got me out of a lot of serious issues with people. And I would tell people, listen, if you're going as a legendary sensei here or a legendary cop, however you want to put it, is be able to get that person who is extremely violent and who has been violent in the past, and you know he's going to be violent in the future. And if you can get somebody like that laughing, and will turn around and allow you to put handcuffs on them, what a success.
Well, even the Marines, when I saw of course, you know, I did the Marine Corps martial arts discs programs, taught them. They came to me. I didn't go to them. And in filming those things, they had takedowns to submissions. And I told Colonel Shisco, I said, there is no place on the battlefield for a submission hold.
No.
He goes, you're right. But we were in embassies too. Oh, yeah. Okay, I can see that. All right. I can see you have to take somebody down. You're not trying to kill them. You're trying to get them to submit to you. So, but I said, you know, but that goes all the way back to why this site is around. You know, the site's around to teach people how to be the great teachers. and how humans learn and the steps you've got to go through. And you've seen a lot of my videos, particularly the knife on knife stuff where I lighten and darken and that's the format how people learn. And that's what was used in the Marine Corps. And that's what they loved, was that. And we got to get that to our people, how to do kind of thing.
Absolutely. From your Hanbos, all of that type of training and teaching that is out there, that's available, that people need to take a hard look at and add to their systems and change things.
All right, sir. Well, gosh darn it. We've only got an hour and a half. It seems like 20 minutes.
Well, yeah. I'm sure we could go all night. It's endless. It's endless
like this. It's endless. An hour and a half. I can tell you who's going to listen to an hour and a half podcast. Somebody who's interested. That's who's going to listen. You know, that's always the case. You know, when you run out of gas, that's when it stops. Other than that, you keep on going. All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you,
Peter. Look at that. I've got some new stuff up there, and I'm putting this free thing up. That once it's all up, I hope you would send. I can give you a code to send it to all your people. This free class, if you approve of it, of course. I'd bank on the fact I think you will, but get that out to everybody. And I'm doing this for two reasons. One, I want them to see the quality from which we're coming at. We're not teaching you how to punch and kick. We're not teaching you new technique. We're teaching you how to teach. And two, the quality of what we've got going on here reaps of greatness. So I'm going to put that out. I should have it done by tomorrow. I've got two done now. So I'll have that up and look forward to you reviewing that and
very good.
I'll give you a link on how to get to it. They can go right to it and it'll be free. Okay?
Sounds good. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Very much. I've enjoyed it. All right.
Let me stop recording here.